And welcome again to another episode of Z-Wings Workshop. I'm Tony, and today, believe it or not, I have kind of like a free shop where I can do some stuff. So I've got a crazy special project that you just seen from the intro and the thumbnail. That's not clickbait. I actually did that, and I'm going to show you why right now. Now, the hard work and the craziness of pouring spray foam all over the front nose of the Buick was to come up with this. And as you can see, as I'll flip it over here, you can see all this spray foam. Now basically what I wanted to do was create a mold of the hood of the car. So after I got the spray foam in, I fiberglassed it, and then I've been kind of fine-tuning it with Bondo to get a good shape. Now I still have to do the upper wings on both sides. This side is completely apart. Fortunately, this thing's kind of been sitting on a shelf for a while, so there's some areas that are needing attention and reinforcements. But that's just half the puzzle. Now the other half of the puzzle is right here. As you can see, I have got a spare grill, and it's beat to shit. I've got a bumper, and it is also beat to shit. Now I also have headlight bezels and trim rings. So my thoughts were, because I've had some years doing concrete, I was going to make a mold and stain the mold. The mold will be to fill concrete, and I will do a rustic, kind of an orange color to represent the sheet metal. And then I have all this nasty bumpery that'll just kind of bolt it on. So it'll kind of look like a wrecked, beat up front end of a car. And basically it's going to get mounted on a wall at my house. And the goal is to try to get some lights working. I'm probably going to have to make some side marker lights. There is going to be some beating and banging going on here to kind of straighten up as much as I can to straighten it up. But, you know, what a better way to use old rusty parts and old nasty worthless parts, to be honest, than to make, I guess you'd call it art. So that's kind of the game plan, and that's the goal. And you might be thinking that I'm absolutely nuts for doing this, or you might even be thinking, wow, that's going to weigh a lot. It is going to weigh a lot. I estimate it'll probably be about 250 pounds total hanging off the wall. And hey, that's no problem. I know how to fasten things to the wall, and I know how to build stuff so it won't fall off the wall. So yeah, that'll be kind of neat, huh? But first, we got to dial in the mold. Now here's where this project is going to get slightly complicated. As you can see, I have a driver's side light bezel with driver's side lights. When I was restoring the Buick, I bought a parts car. It was a coupe. It wasn't a convertible, but that's where I got all these extra parts from. Unfortunately, the other side of the car was damaged, so I only was able to get good bezels from here. Now I do have other spare bezels, but here's the problem. They're all driver's side, so I do not have a passenger side bezel. I just spent a little time going through my stash, and not the stash that you're thinking of, the stash of melamine. And now I am going to be reinforcing the top. Basically what I want to do is I want to flatten this out and build it up and keep it so I can put it level. Obviously this is going to be a level point because this will be the top of the concrete, so I need to keep that so it can be level. And now it's laser time. So I got the laser set up on the one side, shooting across the other side. I actually spent a little time trying to level this up because my bench is not leveled. It didn't need much, but it worked. Now as you can see, where that little groove, and there's one on the other side too, that's basically where the concrete should lie. That's kind of where I want it to be. So the line is a little heavier where it needs to be, which isn't the end of the world. It's about a 3/16 difference from where the line is. But we do know that with everything being level, and we do know this being the level surface when this whole thing gets finished, we are in good shape. You can see we're at the bottom of the laser line at 2 inches. You come to this side, we're at the bottom of the laser line at 2 inches. Now what I do need to do is create a back wall, which is going to tie the entire thing together, and it's going to operate as a back wall for the concrete. So we are going to go to here, and we can see it's about 3.5 inches. So I need to cut a piece. I'm going to say about 3 3/8. That way a little higher is not going to hurt anything. So we will do that and get that popped in. This piece, that was just a piece of crap. It wasn't going to go back together. So I ended up just putting a new piece in here. And as you can see, we're not bad. We got some gap hostesses, and I'm just going to need to get filled. Again, I did do some measurements though, and I'm going to have to reference some pictures to see how this is. The height's good, so we know that's about as high as it's going to go. I still have to create a V. And I will flash a picture of the Buick now. You know, you can kind of see what I'm going to have to kind of recreate. All right, so I've got my line drawn around, and yeah, for the most part, everything looks nice and parallel with where it needs to be. So I took one of the light bezels, kind of threw it on in there, and you really barely can see just because I can't really get the camera in there. But basically, from the top down, you see I have to make a V, and then I could possibly almost make a straight line all the way to this corner. I don't mind making this a triangle area. Let me just kind of put this down. I don't mind making this like a triangle section because this is going to get, it's going to be extra weight for sure, but it's going to make this corner stronger. This is going to be the weakest part, to be honest with you. And the nose won't be bad, but it'd be nice to have a little bit of meat here. I'm going to throw a little bit of rebar and some wire mesh in here just to kind of help put it together. But I'm thinking if I can make the little V that needs to be made, and then a straight piece coming up, that should do it. And then obviously we'll do the same thing on the other side, but once we establish the this is the driver's side, then we'll work to the opposite side. This is some pretty old Bondo, not gonna lie. It's not looking great, but it just needs to be hard and put into this mold. Now, if you can see, I got this like little foam stuff in there. It's backer rod. There's a little stuff down in there. Everything's now has been really good supported. These things aren't moving around. I even did here because I do want to get into here and fill up that. So I flipped the thing on its side, and you can see that first coat of Bondo filled in pretty nice. I gave it a little scrape just to kind of shape it out a little bit better. To me, that looks good. I mean, again, we're not going for perfection, and you're going to hear me say that 1,000 times making this form, but that works really good. Now I have a little manila folder, which is what I love to use for stuff like this, and I'm just going to kind of scribe it into this corner, and we're going to get a cut fit right, and then we're going to get it over there. We're going to basically flip it around and to go matchy-matchy on it. This video is starting to get long, so I'm going to try and save you guys some of the agony of me applying Bondo and sanding Bondo and shaping Bondo. So if you I made the template just to show you kind of some hash marks here. We got this line is obviously for here. We've got this line here is our measurement to our center, and then we have this line which is our light pocket to hood transition. Now we're just using this on both sides to dial it in. Well, now I understood why this has taken me so long, because it's a lot of dialing in, sanding, bondoing, so it's just tedious, which is sad. And this has actually been taking me now a couple of days, But I do want to show you some really cool stuff, and I'm going to show you how we're going to finish these pieces. This stuff is aluminum roll flashing. It comes in a full roll. I only have so much left, sadly. I got to get some more. This stuff is just awesome. I use this for so many things, and it just comes in handy to have it. Eventually, I might do a Z-winging episode on it. Stuff that you need. But this guy is basically gonna sit right in here. I'm gonna get some staples in here. We're gonna kind of feather it in. Just so you know too, concrete is crazy as far as what it will transfer. So everything I do with this form here is gonna have to be as close to smooth, and I'm gonna get a full coat of paint on in here with some gloss paint even. Concrete will replicate anything that it is. You can pour concrete on a glass or mirror, and when you pull that concrete off after it's dry, it'll be as smooth as the glass or mirror. So, you know, any scratches, and I don't mind if there's a little bit here, because I was still going to go through and do some polishing to it, but I can eliminate 90% of the polishing needed just as long as I make this form as good as I can get it, as far as smooth-wise goes. So these are going to get popped in here like so. And then we're going to end up running like a V piece from the top, from the tip here, basically down to here. And then that's going to give this thing a nice big chunk. Obviously, we still got to leave room for the lighting, and I can go back and do some grinding and whatnot. But just so you guys know, I just want to show you how I made these. I use these gigantic nails, which is another thing that super handy to have. And they're really awesome, to be honest, and it's a pretty good nail. So yeah, I think the next time you guys are going to see this, it is going to be basically ready for paint, just because I could spend about 5 hours on a video just showing sanding, mixing more Bondo, sanding, mixing more Bondo, and just dialing this thing proper. So the next time you're going to see this, it's going to be ready for pour. So I just got a couple more coats of paint I'm going to put on this, then I'm going to let it cure for a couple of days before I actually start mixing concrete. Being Tuesday today, I probably won't actually do any pour till Friday. And I also bought a sheet of plywood, which will be the backer, which is going to be a project in itself. And I do actually, my headlight bezel solution has not arrived, but I did end up buying one off of eBay. Well, today's the day. And you can see the paint is good and cured. I actually did spend some time, and I got this thing leveled and it's secure. I also have rebar, which I said I was going to throw in there, and that works out pretty good. Now the thing too you got to remember is rebar needs to suspend, because obviously you don't want it to sink down into the form here. So we'll have pieces here. I've got wire, and then we're going to use little bridges that will hold this up. Now the other thing too is I usually don't use any kind of mold release, but I think this time I'm going to use something. We're going to do it as an experiment. I'm just going to use some silicone and call it that. But here's the concrete. Now what I like to use is this orange bag stuff. It already has like little fibers in it, and it works really good. I've used it for countertops in the past, and it's great stuff. Then I also like to throw in a couple scoops of Portland, and here you can see, bright red. This will be the concrete dye that we add in there. Now, to mix all of this, I have something that most people probably don't have. That's my R2 unit. Kinda mixes concrete. So that's what's going to happen. Now I bent the rebar using this. I use my little nail pullers to twist tie the ties. This to cut, that to extinguish cigarettes. And then we're going to go through too to do some vibrations. So I'll probably grab like a palm sander, and then you'll see I will actually vibrate the concrete. Now the purpose of, after you pour the concrete, you vibrate it to get as much air pockets that are out. Now the only thing still I have yet to figure out was when I go to put these little side forms on, how I'm going to attach them. I might use like bungee cords or ratchet straps, or I'm not exactly sure. They're not going to be too bad. But then also, once they're in this position here, I'm going to have to make sure that this stays. I've got to make sure that the stuff that goes into the top cavity doesn't bubble up too much here. So it'll be something I work on. You know, and this obviously I'm just going to screed it off as flat as possible. It should seek its own level, which the vibration will help that also. Yes, I'm jamming up to some Rammstein while I'm doing this. A couple other things too. I have these reinforced glass fibers, which is already into that concrete mix, but I'm going to add them. This is noisy, it's doing its thing. Something else I do, I put a little water reducer in. So I already added the fibers. I already added the water reducer. Damn, this thing's loud. It's the loudest R2 unit I've ever had. Once this stuff gets mixed up though, then we put some red in. Got it?
We put some powder, it's a colorant, make a color of
That's okay. I got my neighbor Tom hanging with me. If you can even hear me over this friggin' thing. It's getting red. I gotta add more dye. The pour went pretty well. That is a nice bright red color. I actually used some of the bright red, and then I had some terracotta I threw in there too, because terracotta gives it a nice little red pop, which is kind of what I'm going for. I'm sure it's not going to be as this bright once it cures, but you can see too, once you fill these side pockets, and that's what I came up with. It's actually working pretty good. Just some string line, and you can see as though this filled, you know, it wants to come out here. So I'm going to keep an eye on it for the rest of the day and just kind of screed off a little bit. That way it'll save me some grinding. The center section looks good. My little trapezes are holding the bar up off the ground. These are good too. Mixer, which I haven't used in probably, I don't know, 10 years. Still works good. It's a Harbor Freight deal. And the only thing I can recommend at Harbor Freight is, if you have to plug it into the wall, be very wary. If it's like a air thing or air tools or stupid stuff that Harbor Freight sells, and it doesn't need to be plugged in the wall, it'll probably be decent for you. So, just kind of how it goes. But let me flip this camera around. It's a rough day. Like and subscribe. Part 2 is coming. Thanks again. Have a good one. Bye.